She's trying to join me on the walk. No, Mum, no, Baba, go home. Paul? You're a beautiful girl, but you need to go home. You can't come on the walk. No, you can't come on the walk. Go to Daddy. Go to Dad. Good girl. No, you stay. You stay. Good girl. Sabra, go back to Dad. You can't come on my walk. Maybe if I ignore her. Oh, no one's joined me yet anyway. Hey, Sabra, go home. Go back to Daddy. You can't come with me. No. Go back to Dad. Go back to Dad. Paul. Go back. Good girl. Good girl. Stay. Sabra, stay. Hey, Save Robbie. Hi, Claire Bear. She is cute, but I don't know why she's out. She wants to come with me, but she can't. You've got to stay with your dad. And I don't really want to knock on his door with me live on YouTube. So I'm in a bit of a quandary. What do I do? Because she'll start following me again. Sabra, stay. Yeah, she won't. You stay. Good girl. Stay. I keep turning away and hoping that she doesn't follow me. And then when I look around, she's right behind me. We'll just keep walking. How you guys doing? She's a cute doggy. I've known her since she was a puppy and she knows me, but she's got really sort of scatty. She's right behind me. Sabra, go home. Go home. Go back to Dad. Good girl. Good girl. Go home. I might have to knock. If I put my phone down, because yeah, I want to make sure that Paul's aware she's out on the street. It's rubbish day and, you know, I don't want the garbage trucks to hit her. Good girl. We'll see if Dad's home, hey? So yeah, if I go silent for a sec. Where's Daddy? Where's your dad? Where's your dad? Okay, bear with me, guys. Paul, hey. Careful, Bubba girl. Paul. Hi, Lulu. I'll just close that one. Hopefully that'll keep her in. I don't know where Paul is. I did knock, but there's no, there's someone's left a note on his door, but I think that with that sliding door shut, she can't get out now because it's fenced. Anywho, that was a bit of excitement for the day. I'm wondering if she's worked out how to slide the door open. Hey, Eric. Oh, you're in Dallas. Hey, Robbie, have you done a wee yet? Here in Australia, people would just go behind a tree. Oh, God, it's cold. It's very brisk. I've got a beanie on, but it's the, what, 4th day of winter here, so yeah, almost like clockwork. 1st of June, bang, cold. Yeah, I do want to chat about, similar to what you've been talking about, Robbie. I talked about it a bit last night in my Smooth Criminal show, which is about the wreck of the Ruby Princess, a cruise ship that's led to the largest number of COVID-19 victims and also positive tests in Australia. But we did get on to what's happening in the US, and I come from a very similar place of thought, Robbie. I fully understand why there's rioting and all the pent-up anger and hurt and so on. The looting, I think, is taking it way too far. But there's another element to this that I'm pretty vocal about, which is in Australia, we also have a massive racism issue, and over 400 people, Indigenous people, 432 in fact, have died in custody since, now I'm going to get the date wrong, I think 1991. Not one conviction. One of them, David Dungay Jr., his last words were, "I can't breathe," ironically and tragically. So yeah, I want to be a bit vocal, and I know I might piss people off, it might be an unpopular opinion, but while I think it's really lovely when something's going on in the country where you live, that you know that there are people around the world that are thinking of you, like for example the bushfires in Australia in January, it meant the world that people around the world were watching on in horror and sending love and support and so on. But there's a lot of peaceful protests being organised around Australia for George Floyd, and my problem is, where's the outrage, or where are the the peaceful protests in Australia for our Indigenous men and women who've died in custody? And to me, I think the only real benefit of going to a peaceful protest is it makes you feel better, but it's not going to fix things. And if people want to go to peaceful protests, go for it. I've done it in the past too. I've latched onto some trending topic or world issue and off I've gone, and it doesn't change things. It just makes you feel better. It's like Anthony Jeselnik's show Thoughts and Prayers. When something horrible happens, you know, the most common response is thoughts and prayers, but it's not about the victims. It's about the person that says it feeling better and letting everyone know that they're hurting. Don't forget I'm hurting. I think, you know, that may be a slight misquote of one of his lines in that show, but it's, you know, I've got the sads today. I'm sad about this, and then all these other people going, "Oh, that's so lovely of you to be sending your thoughts and prayers," but at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. And if people, is my chat frozen by the looks of it? Or maybe no one's chatting now. Maybe everyone's just listening to me going, "Oh, it's not the usual bitch therapy." I mean, I'm not going to get angry or fired up. Well, I am a bit fired up about it, but I'm not going to be angry and shouty about it. But it just, I just want Australians to, back to the peaceful protests and stuff, like, if people need to do things like that to make themselves feel better, if they're reeling in horror, as we are right now watching what's happening in the States, if that's what they need to do, that's fine. But where's the outrage about the shit that's happening on our own soil? Why aren't these people organising peaceful protests for the 432 Indigenous men and women who've died in custody? Why aren't there vocal protests demanding justice for these people and some convictions? You know, these are kids that are getting murdered and no one's been held accountable. You're listening, thank you, Claire Bear. I don't know if I'm worth listening to. I'm patronising. My new name. I'm going to get a t-shirt that says patronising, but I'm going to spell it the Australian way, not with a Z, or what you guys call a Z. Patronising. Anyway, maybe I am. I know I'm opinionated, but I got criticised for that too on YouTube. You know you're opinionated, don't you? Yeah, I fucking do. I also know my opinions are flexible, and I know I can change my mind, and I know I can learn a lot from other people and form opinions. I don't have opinions on shit I've got no knowledge of, either personal experience or somebody else's. But wouldn't a YouTube channel be boring as fuck if the creator had no opinions? Like, I think you kind of, you know, we both nearly got trapped then. Look at that. Look at this blissful, cold, wintry morning. Emily, hello, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, some of my favourite YouTube channels are really opinionated people. Some of them I don't even really like that much. You know, they may not have a very likeable personality. They might be a little bit too full of themselves or a bit too rigid, but they spark discussion and people watch, you know, some people watch in fascination and others watch in horror. But at the end of the day, I'm leaning towards those channels before someone who has no opinions. It just, you know, and I think it takes balls. I really do. Like, you know, I really liked Robbie's video earlier. Not that with that one you expressed any views that were extreme or anything that other people aren't expressing as well. But, you know, to even just put yourself out there and say stuff, that in itself, it's no different to how I feel about politicians. I feel that people that put their hands up to be politicians need to be respected for actually doing something and getting involved in the democratic process. Doesn't mean I have to like their politics, but I'm not a all politicians suck person. As Robbie would know on another conversation we've had this morning, I think it's constituents who suck most of the time. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. I guess what I wanted to get off my chest on this walk, and also see how everyone else feels about it, is, are you conflicted by people where you live who are putting a lot of time and energy into organising peaceful protests for George Floyd and for what's going on in the States right now, but are not giving a remote fuck about what's happening in their own backyard? And Australia is a country where we have this saying, I mean, it's probably a global saying, but you know the term NIMBYs, not in my backyard. Australians are notorious for only giving a fuck about what is happening in their backyard, as long as it's something cool or it's not about Indigenous Australians. Like, if I'm trying to think of a word for it, like if it's, I mean, I have a look at the Premier's press conferences about all our restrictions and so on, and a lot of the whinging in there is people going, I want to go to my shack. I want to fly to Sydney to see my new granddaughter. And I've got to do a little meme. I can't get the graphics quite right, but I've kind of worked out from how I feel about COVID-19 globally, is the world sort of united but then split into two groups. One group are the I wants and the other group are the we needs. And the I wants, well, with the we needs, they're the ones that have gone, hey, for now, my individual rights are really irrelevant and what I want's irrelevant, because I'm a global citizen and this is about global responsibility. But the I wants, and I just want to say too, there's varying degrees of types of people in the we needs. Some of them are very focused on where they live, and others their hearts are breaking for people in Spain and, you know, on the other side of the world, whatever. But the I wants, for the most part, they've all got the same thing in common. They're selfish. But they're the NIMBYs, you know, they're the ones that's happening in their backyard, so they get fired up about it. Until it's something unsavoury, like 432 Indigenous men and women in Australia dying in custody and not one conviction. Pretty view, isn't it? This is where I come here to think out loud, as you know. And that ocean would nurture you, Robbie. I'd get you out there, even just to your knees, and you'd learn to love it. It's just you don't live near a big ocean. I think that's the fear factor for you. I wouldn't take you out there now. It's really cold. And we could go around to Red Ochre where there's no waves at all and have a little paddle. You'd be fine. Yeah, so that's, I guess, what I wanted to chat about today. Where's the outrage in Australia for all of these beautiful people who have essentially been murdered and left to die in prisons? Where's the peaceful protest for them? Where's the huge crowds when David Dungay Jr.'s family was standing outside the prison and outside the court protesting? Where's the massive crowd supporting them? Why aren't these people that are going to go to peaceful protests over the weekend for George Floyd organising peaceful protests for 432 Indigenous Australians? I don't know. And I don't think that peaceful protests or violent protests change much at all. I do think that the riots are a product of, this massive pot of boiling water that's just been waiting to spill over again, and now it's spilling again. And I fully understand why that's happening. The looting, I have very different views on that. Taking it out on innocent business owners and their employees, like Robbie was talking about earlier, and fucking up other people's livelihoods, and that's not fair. The lawyer in me has major issues with the looting. I think it takes away from what the rioting, or the protesting, sorry, I won't use the word rioting. I think it takes away from what the protests are trying to achieve, which is, I think, to be heard, essentially, and to say this has gone too far again, it has to stop. There's another concept in Australia which is also, I don't know how powerful it is. It might be powerful to somebody who walks past it, but the silent protests, they're not even saying what should be said. Is the message getting out there? Like, if you walk past a silent protest, you naturally want to find out what it's about. So anyone that sort of stumbles across one might hear the silent message, so to speak. And like I said at the start, maybe some of my opinions are unpopular, and I'm cool with that. I'm just thinking about all of this a lot. And, I saw a photo of presumably 3 police officers standing in a row with I Can Breathe t-shirts, and I was just looking at it going, I actually don't think they're cops. I think that they are people that are protesting, and I think the t-shirts say I can't breathe, and they've been photoshopped out to say that. Like, you see things like that and just go, nah, no, that's really doctored. Who in America right now would wear a t-shirt in public that says I can breathe and think they're not going to get punched in the face? You'd have to be a fucking idiot. So there's a lot of, propaganda floating around too, just to fire people up even more. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of fucking horrible shit happening that is actually happening too. I've got friends emailing me and telling me about what's going on where they live. One of my friends in Australia, who is adopted African American heritage, grew up in the same neighbourhood where, I didn't grow up, sorry, went on exchange to the US from Tasmania, Australia, and was an exchange student in the neighbourhood where George Floyd died. And he's getting so many, emails and updates from his host family about what it's like there at the moment, and it's terrifying. My Facebook group that has 15,000 members and over 50% of them live in the States. The stories that they're telling, one of my mods who's an African American woman, she was accused of being racist for calling out someone's racism. Like, it's out of control. It's out of control. But I kind of get why it's out of control. Shit's got to stop. But it's focusing on how to make it stop that should be what we're all thinking about. Hello, Floofy. You're cute. Gorgeous puppy. You know, let's think about how we can make it stop. Is a peaceful protest in Tasmania, in a little country town of 20,000 people, going to fix what's happening in the States? Of course it's not. What's it achieving? No one's chatting. I didn't mean for this to be a monologue. What's it achieving? It's making those people feel good about themselves. They're seen out in public. There'll be photos on Facebook. There'll be a hashtag. Here we all are, standing in this memorial garden, lighting candles. Why aren't they organising them for David Dungo Jr.? You know what I mean? Or why aren't they going, a peaceful protest will make me feel good, but maybe actually getting really vocal on social media about the gross injustices that are happening to our Indigenous men and women might be more effective. Maybe I need to start lobbying politicians. Maybe I need to start a loud vocal protest about how this is fucked. I don't think that a token attendance at a peaceful protest for someone who was murdered on the other side of the world has any effect other than making the people who are at it feel like they're good citizens and they're showing the world that they care. If they're going to the peaceful protest, but they're also lobbying and not giving up and continually speaking until someone finally listens, don't you think that's a much better kind of person to be? I don't know. I'm keen to throw it over to you guys and see what you have to say about it. I don't like the violence, but I fully understand it. At some point, people are just so fucking much at breaking point. I'm not saying I condone it, but I understand it. The looting, that's next level wrong, I think. That's taking it out on people who are probably just as heartbroken with the death of not only George Floyd, but the death of any black man or woman in the States. And how it's ripping the country apart right now. Like, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I'm doing my tax return today. It's going to be a great day. Tax return interspersed with, I think everyone's left. Oh no. There's people there. That's good, I think. Shit, I've just realised. I think my blue... No. Oh no. So my Bluetooth, I thought my house Wi-Fi might have been on. I was like, you are such a long way from your house right now. You've been talking to yourself. And I don't mind if I am. I do this anyway. I mean, I don't talk to myself, but I think about things. But yeah, I think Australia's outrage is a little bit misguided Don't get me wrong, I think we're all allowed to be as outraged about what's going on in the States. But where's the outrage for what's happening at home? Where's the peaceful protest where 432 names of Indigenous men and women are read out one after the other? Where's the outrage demanding justice so that someone can be convicted for killing at least one of these people? You know, like, it's good to give a fuck about the rest of the world. It really is. It goes back to the I wants and the we needs. I'm all for the we needs. I'm one of them. But the world includes your own place where you live, and putting blinkers on and pretending that Australia is a perfect country and nothing like that would ever happen here is bullshit. It does. It is. Get fired up about all of it. Go to the peaceful protest if you need to feel better about yourself. But stop bragging about it on social media. It's like people that go to our dawn service on Anzac Day. It's a somber morning. It's an opportunity to stand silently and think about our Anzacs. And yet people are taking selfies and uploading it onto social media. Here we are at the dawn service. What the fuck? Don't make it about you. And I'm sorry, but I think the peaceful protesters are making it about themselves, because what else is going to come from it? My apologies to any peaceful protesters in my chat right now. I'm sure you're all lovely people. I just hope that you also would attend a peaceful protest in Australia for one of our fallen Indigenous, one of our murdered. Shit's going on in Australia too. We are a lucky country in many respects, but a lot of people here who live here are having a fucking miserable time, and they were here before us. On another note, here's Barry. Bazza, mate, wash your lady. Got a hot date with Shazza, dude. Can't see. Oh, Shaz, yep, she's way down the beach. Once again, playing hard to get. Nothing really changes in the world of Bazza and Shazza. They're happy though. Oh, there's a breeze now that I'm walking back the other way. No, it's not a breeze. It's a wind. It's not quite at the, feels like you're getting pointy little icicles poked in your face repeatedly stage yet, which I do kind of like. I mean, it's not pleasant, but it's nice when you get home and jump in a hot shower or have a nice hot cup of tea. But there's certainly a chill in the air now that has arrived with winter. So what's everyone up to today? So this isn't a long live. I'm going to head back up to the house. I need some breakfast. I had Vegemite on some gluten-free. I've got a gluten-free roll that I made with lashings of butter. And they're quite sort of chunky, solid rolls. And I was like, this will fill me up. But I'm hungry again. I'm sorry if you guys have been chatting and my chat's frozen and I'm not answering anything you're saying, because I really wanted to talk about this. Maybe maybe you guys don't. I don't know. I'm cool either way. But I just, if chat has frozen, I just want to say I'm really sorry I'm not responding to anything. Oh, hang on. Hello, Planet Sunshine. People who go to the peaceful protests in Australia are just doing their best. Same as people who say they're animal lovers but eat meat. Yeah. I mean, I'm a meat-eating animal lover, and I fully understand the hypocrisy in that. I have also learnt how to actually slaughter and butcher an animal so that I would appreciate, as a young kid, so I would appreciate where the meat that I eat comes from. But I do still eat chicken, and occasionally I do eat lamb mince as well. I don't know though, because I donate and sponsor monthly to animal welfare charities, and I feel like that's using my voice, even though, like I said, I'm also aware that I think you can be a meat eater and also love animals. I don't think that I think they are mutually exclusive, but I know your point. But the peaceful protesters, I don't think they're doing their best, and maybe the meat eaters aren't either, you know. But I still know there's a lot of people who eat meat who do a lot of positive things for animal welfare, whereas the peaceful protesters, the ones that are proudly announcing on Facebook that they're attending the protest, I haven't seen anything on their Facebook page ever about one Indigenous death in custody. I guess that's my point. I mean, we're complicated people. Human beings are complicated, and there's blurred lines all over the place. And I think the animal meat eating, the animal love and meat eating people could do more, and I think the peaceful protesters could too. Exactly, no one's perfect. Well, I'm not expecting perfection. I'm just questioning, how do peaceful protests bring about change, and why are there peaceful protests happening for George Floyd in Australia but not for the 432 Indigenous men and women who've died in custody without one single conviction? Where's the outrage there? Or where's the desire to do a peaceful protest? Even. That's my point. And I could do more. I just don't know what that more is, apart from continuing to be educated on what's going on. If there was a protest here about it, I would probably attend it, but it wouldn't be I've done my bit, I've been to a protest, that's all I've got to do. I mean, I remember a long time ago, years ago, when I was a member of Amnesty International, there was always stuff being sent out to us back in the old days before Gmail, or before email. All kinds of things, from petitions to this is a number you need to call to lobby and so on, and you just don't see that happening with what's going on in Australia. Mel, hello, you're up bright and early in your new regime. Good to see you, gorgeous. And I did say right at the start, people can do whatever they want to do. I'm not judging people for doing as much or as little. I'm just questioning, why isn't more being done in Australia by Australians? Like, have they jumped onto the George Floyd thing because it's trendy? Some of them probably have. Are they attending the peaceful protest because they think that that's going to bring about change? Possibly, but I don't think it will bring about change. But why aren't they doing anything about what's happening in Australia? Why aren't they fired up about that? That's my question. You're a lawyer. You've met a lot of criminals. I have. No, that's all right. I hit send too early as well. And I'm also, not that you have, but I'm really, really fluent in typo, because I'm the worst at typos. It's not so much typos. I'm just really quick. I type shit out and just hit send without checking it. I don't spell check, which is funny because I get really impatient with shitty grammar. I'm not like what they call a grammar Nazi, correcting other people online all the time. But once I've hit send and I see that mine's got shitty grammar in it or typos that I didn't correct, that pisses me off. But I also can't stand text messaging and faffing around on my phone. I'd much rather chat to people online, on Facebook Messenger, wherever. Or via crazy filtered photos on Snapchat even. But yeah, I have met a lot of criminals. I've probably met by now, because I haven't practiced criminal law since maybe 2003 was the last time I did anything criminal related. I've probably met more criminals in my life since that point than I did when I was actually working as a criminal lawyer. I'm keen to see the rest of the question though, or comment. But yeah, please don't think this is me walking on the beach going, these people are fucked. They're doing nothing, they need to be better people. I'm not, I'm just questioning, where's the outrage for what's happening here? Why aren't they fired up about that? And what does a peaceful protest bring other than comfort to the people who attend it, that they feel like they're being good citizens? And like I said at the start, if that's what they need, go for it, groovers. Whatever makes you happy. But I personally just don't think it brings about change. And I'd love someone to give me an example of where a peaceful protest has. Of significance. Not a peaceful protest to have another lamp installed in a park kind of example. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's it brought about a change to human rights or legislation that protects the vulnerable members of our community, the Indigenous members of our community? Like, yeah, it's just two Anthony Jeselnik thoughts and prayers to me. It's all about the person that's going to the protest and not about the bigger picture. And completely ignoring the bigger picture in Australia while peacefully protesting for what's happening in the United States kind of shits me. But if that's what they want to do, I'm just questioning why they don't give a fuck about what's happening here. Yes, he does, Mel. Yep. You did name his surname. Have a good day. Are you heading off? Where are you going? You agree. Thanks, Mel. Got to get Joshy to school. Right, okay. Morning cig and coffee. Morning pork chop. Thank you for popping in, Mel. Give my love to Joshy. Yeah, there's a lot of people that I need to and get a little bit more fired up about it, because I'm almost as fucking guilty right now in terms of walking on the beach whinging about it. I should be at home actually firing off emails left, right and centre. But me walking on the beach pondering it doesn't mean I'm not actually doing anything about it in my real life. I don't know where Shaz has gone. There's a couple of gulls up there. I was walking up here to try and find her, but it's cold. And my brain is a bit cold. Oh, Scotch fingers. I love them, Kylie. Well, hello, Wobbly Boost. I love your name, Wobbly Boost. It makes me smile every time I see it. I love Planet Sunshine's name too. That's also, I think, a really cool name. Kylie, yeah, no, everyone should have been outraged all the time about deaths in custody. Yep. And look, you know, I suppose here's an analogy. It's a bit like when someone in your life dies and you go to a funeral and there's a heap of people at the funeral that you haven't spoken to or seen in ages, and you're all like, fuck, we can't take life for granted, we really do need to catch up. And then in my lifetime, in my life experience, then I do catch up with those people and you reignite those friendships and connections, and away you go. And it's unfortunate that someone has to die for everyone to be reminded of that and get a kick up the bum. And I think, you know, with things like the murder of George Floyd, if it gives people a kick up the bum again and gets them fired up and back into some activism and lobbying and whatever, then it's got to be you know, there's some great positives, as much as it sounds weird, that do come out of the deaths of people. So if that's what it becomes, if that's a kick up the bum, that's awesome. And I'm definitely feeling a kick up the bum. I think COVID-19's made everyone, you know, self-isolating and becoming quite introspective and sort of focusing on your own improvement as a human being, all that sort of stuff. But it's good to be looking outwards again as restrictions start to be loosened and lifted. And yeah, and if it motivates people and fires people up again, I think that's a great thing. But that to me is a very different concept to the people that have never been fired up about deaths in custody in Australia, Indigenous deaths in particular, but are going off to peaceful protests about George Floyd this weekend and constantly letting everyone know about it on Facebook. They're the ones I'm a bit curious about. And there's a shitload of different memes and things flying around on Facebook right now sort of saying that, you know, like if you're posting about George Floyd on your Facebook wall, why aren't you posting about David Dungay Jr.? It's a valid question, don't you think? It is. It's a great place for thinking and talking. Wobbly Beach Tire by Crazy Ass 2020. It was one for the books, isn't it? What a year so far. 6 months into it, and it's like, whoa, who would have predicted any of this? Well, probably someone did. Didn't Barack Obama in a Senate committee, didn't he talk about part of Obamacare was because of a forecasted respiratory illness that could grip the world? And I saw a speech, I'm sure, like way back. I mean, I'm not going to go down the Dean Koontz book road and whatever he wrote about, but I'm pretty sure I think it was a Senate committee where Obama's addressing them, and he's talking about this. He basically, it sounds like he's talking about COVID-19, and it was almost to the day that it was, possibly the day it was either declared a pandemic or just when things sort of got out of hand, and it wasn't just this weird thing happening in Wuhan. It was suddenly this backpacking virus that was starting to travel the world at great speed. Wobbly Boost, you summed it up perfectly. That's exactly what the point is that I'm making. At least we learned Andrew didn't run the press conference. Huh. Hi Anne-Marie, how you doing? What video of yours did I just see? I haven't watched it yet. You made something, you cooked something, and I was like, oh, I gotta watch that. It was in my list of notifications when I was scrolling through this morning waiting for my heating. I've got hydronic heating, and because it's so cold when I wake up, Biscuit gets up on the bed and we just hang out on my bed for about 5 minutes waiting for the chill to go off the air before I get out of bed, and I just scroll through YouTube. And it looked like you'd cooked something. And I was like, oh, I've got to watch that. I can't remember. Was it... Anyway, let me know. What was your most recent video about? You'd be like, it was nothing to do with cooking. It's the best way to clean a dirty washing machine, which is something I have to Google today. I can't get it. There's scars on the rim that I've used everything under the sun, and I've scrubbed it with toothbrushes and scrubbing brushes, and I've done rinses with vinegar, and I don't know how to get it out. I'm just going to Google if I can buy a whole new seal. Wobbly Boost, they kind of know when people are going to take the government and corporate crime to task, because we've had it with injustice. So hey, make some chaos and try to steer it their way, usually violent revolution. Because they can play victim and insist on martial law. See, that's the thing. I know he didn't say it outright, but when I watched Trump's press conference the other day, the one before he walked across the road to the church, that sounded like martial law to me. And I had some Americans in one of my Facebook groups correct me on that, and they were saying, no, it's not quite that yet. And they talked about legislation that needs to be invoked and all sorts of stuff, which was really interesting. But the actual speech that he gave, it sounded a bit like martial law. And the other thing is, with the little walk over to the church, I was like, this is like a really weird episode of The Handmaid's Tale. Did anyone else feel that way? I mean, I remember watching The Handmaid's Tale and chatting to friends of mine in the States last year or the year before. How old's The Handmaid's Tale now? I think it might be 2 years ago it started. Anywho, whenever it first started. And a lot of them back then were saying, hey, we're already living in Gilead. What are you talking about? It's already happening. Many US mates said it was implying that, I think so too. That Wobbly Boo said it implied martial law for sure. And inciting revolution, exactly. And the use of force was really... That message was sent out loud and clear, especially to the weak governors and mayors in states that weren't complying. I mean, I don't know what you... Look, I've already had a bit of a chat with Robbie about Trump. I'm not a fan of his, but I also don't live in America and he's not my president. So there's a disconnect as well. I can watch on in a bit of horror. But don't get me wrong, there's other presidents that I felt similarly about. But, what was I going to say? Oh, Trump. I kind of wonder if that was happening in Australia, what ScoMo would say. And I reckon it would be very similar, don't you? Like, what do you... What else? What other options are there when your country is spiralling out of control? And don't get me wrong, I'm not justifying Trump. I'm just thinking now in an Australian perspective. If this was happening here, what would ScoMo do? I reckon he'd be very similar. And he'd definitely be clutching his little Hillsong Bible. At least he'd be clutching a Bible and walking into a church that he actually attends. Gilead Sands. No, I love the rants. I want the rants. I walked the beach and ranted. It's good to get it off our chests. There are no good presidents. Well, this is the thing. I don't think there's ever... I think there are good politicians, but I kind of have to say that because I'm from a family of them. I think there are politicians who go into politics with good hearts and good intentions, for sure. But I don't think there will ever be a leader in any country on the planet where everyone is besotted and thinks that they're perfect. That's just never going to happen. I mean, even a look at New Zealand, not everyone thinks Jacinda's the best thing on the planet. ScoMo, the earth will always echo Trump. Exactly. Hey, Serenity B. Oh, Happy cute. Oh my God, you've just missed me ranting about a lot of shit, Happy. You probably would have really enjoyed this live. It's not my usual peace, love and happiness as we stroll along the beach singing Kumbaya. It was, I got a bit vocal, mate. Got a bit vocal. said a bit of stuff about peaceful protests that have been organised in Australia for George Floyd, yet the same people that are bragging on, and it does come across as bragging, I don't give a shit what anyone says. I'm off to a peaceful protest, come and join me. But meanwhile in Australia, 432 Indigenous men and women murdered and died in custody and not one conviction. And I'm sorry, but the majority of the people that are bragging about going to a peaceful protest on Facebook right now in Tasmania and in Australia, I don't recall them ever discussing any Indigenous deaths in custody. There are a few, don't get me wrong, there's some activist-y friends of mine that are going to the protest, but they do a shitload of other stuff as well. I'm not saying everyone's being a fuckwit about it, or not being a fuckwit. I'm just asking, where's the outrage for what's happening on our own soil? Why aren't we getting fired up about that and looking in the mirror and looking at Australia reflecting back at us as well? Like, don't get me wrong. I love that I live in a country where we do travel extensively and we do give a fuck about the rest of the world. I mean, I've lived in the States. I've got beautiful friends living in the States. My oldest friend from here lives in the States. Like, I love I live in a country that cares and is interested in the rest of the world. I'm super proud of that. And when the bushfires happened in Australia this year, the amount of love that came back to us from around the world was incredible. It was gorgeous, but 20 years ago it wouldn't have happened. I really don't think it would have. I mean, largely because it probably wouldn't have been able to trend on social media as much. But it was lovely to know that the rest of the world cared, and I think it's great that people here care about the rest of the world. No issue with that at all. My issue is, why aren't they fucked off about what's happening here too? And also, I postulated how effective are peaceful protests anyway. Is it really more about the people going to it and feeling good about themselves? And then we were just wrapping up chatting about how Australia's Prime Minister would probably have given a very similar press conference to Trump the other day. The one that sounded like martial law is the way forward. And a bit of force if people aren't towing the line. So yeah, it's been an interesting vent. So good to see you here, Happy Cubed. G'day, Groovers. Wobbly Boost, I know of a few good pollies in Queensland, but I have the reflection that they are never allowed truly. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, nice guys finish last, and girls. The good pollies are never going to be the leaders, but a lot of them don't want to, because a lot of them are states writers and they're far more focused on getting the best for their state. And someone asked me about Jackie Lambie in a live the other day, and she's a states writer, whether you like her politics or not. And I think her politics is on the side of fucking terrifying a lot of the time, but I can't fault her for her dedication and passion for looking after Tasmania and our rights. I think she's an important voice for us. I just don't think her politics is great. She's pretty extreme, scarily so. But, you know, the fact that she gives a fuck about where she lives makes her a good politician. You don't have to agree with what she says, but at least her heart's in the right place, and she's not about ambition and becoming Prime Minister. She's just about looking after where she lives. Serenity to be, I don't know if that's a bad place to be. Sometimes missing everything's not bad. Happy says there's a lot of petitions to go in for kickbacks, the money. Yeah, and look, I'll be honest. When I watched the Jeffrey Epstein thing last weekend, I'm not an idiot. Like, I know about government corruption and so on, but fuck me dead, that show, whoa, that was real, like, wet fish being slapped across your face. Check out this corruption and this and this, and oh, it's not just here, it's also in the courts, and it's all the politicians and members of the royal family. Fuck me dead. It's insane. Oh, sorry, yeah, so you say there's lots of pollies. Yeah, I think so, but you know, at the end of the day, they don't really get paid that well, a lot of them. Like, I remember when Barack Obama was president, my brother met him a few times, because my brother was a politician as well. But my brother's senior advisor was earning more a year than Obama was, and more than my brother was. Like, if you want to make big bucks in politics and you want to get kickbacks, it's the advisors that are getting all of that. And if they're a sneaky advisor and they're getting kickbacks and they can manipulate the politician they're advising to go in a certain direction. But yeah, I'll never forget that. Brad was earning more than Barack Obama, and he was Tasmanian Premier's chief advisor, chief of staff, chief advisor, and he was earning more than the US president. It's always good to have you here, Groover. Wobbly Beast, I'm happy with Jackie. Scarily right wing, but she sticks up for people in her lecture, does Bob Catter. Almost no members stick up for their locals. Yeah, I agree. And my dad was a states writer too, and he actually started his political career as an independent, and then when the parties were sort of really getting formalised and established, not formalised but fully established, he did have aspirations of becoming Premier, funnily enough, not Prime Minister, but he ended up having a federal career. But he ended up going the Liberals, and you've got to remember this is back in the 70s and 80s I'm talking about. Don't think of current politics and while you're listening to this. But he was a federal minister under Fraser, but he chose to go with the Liberal Party because he could cross the floor on issues and that he didn't agree with, and he couldn't as a Labor member. So he went with the Liberals, and he crossed the floor a lot, and he got kicked out of the House a lot. But he was a very passionate states writer, and I love him for that. And my brother was very much the same as Premier. He didn't mind telling Tony Abbott, when Will first became Premier, Tony Abbott was Prime Minister, and he had no issues telling Tony Abbott to go fuck himself if he didn't agree with stuff. So, I've got some good egg pollies in my family. My grandfather was an incredible statesman as well. My uncle was a good state politician. But I'm also from the school of all generalisations are dangerous, including this one. So I will never be a all politicians suck person. I'll say this. I'll let the dude come down that goes for a swim every day. I'll never be the all politicians suck person, and I'm not also the all everyone going to the silent protest isn't doing anything else about issues that they clearly care about. But I think a few of them are, and I put them in the same category as the people who take selfies of themselves at the Anzac Day dawn service. And I put them in the same category of people that have emerged with the COVID-19 scenario and still can't see outside their own wants. And like I said at the start of this, I think there's two types of people that have reacted to COVID-19, or there's two ways people have reacted. There's the I wants, and there's the we needs. And I'm trying to make up a little meme of that because I think I'm proud of thinking of that. But I'm sorry, I think the peaceful protesters that don't give a fuck about what's happening in Australia but are going to go to these peaceful protests on the weekend for George Floyd, I'm sorry, but they are in the I wants. I want to be seen to be doing the right thing. I want to be seen to be a global caring citizen, and I want to feel better about this. Ah, your mum was a political historian. Dinner time was political debate around. I bet it was. Worked at the archives, and the archives, how cool. She probably would have known a lot about my dad. He was a very colourful character, my father. 60 Minutes did a story on him and another Tasmanian politician called The Odd Couple because they used to share a flat in Queanbeyan when they were up in Canberra for Parliament sitting. But yeah, Dad was a very colourful, loud, unforgettable man. But a fascinating dude too, like did a lot of work with unions, even though he was liberal. Was very vocal and even put his life on the line to expose what was happening in East Timor. He got behind a lot of causes that didn't necessarily marry up with liberal philosophies, although back then way more so than now. And he wasn't afraid to do that. He stood up for what he thought was right, not what his political party told him was right. I can't believe I'm still chatting. I do this, I walk up here and everyone's like, oh my God, she's... Hi, Eric. I am still here, even though it sounds like I'm probably going to pass out. It's so steep walking up here. I don't know why I do this. Why do I treat you to my heavy breathing? It's bad enough just walking up it. Walking and talking. Alright, here's the view while I catch my breath. You're back. G'day. I'm kind of killing time. I don't want to go home and start working on my tax return. I find that kind of stuff so painful and boring. I might go live tonight and do some cooking. Oh, I didn't see if Anne-Marie answered about the cooking. Hang on. I'm scrolling back up. Oh, she didn't answer. I'm sure there was a notification about a video of hers. Just seeing if it's on my phone. No, it's not there. Anywho, I'll have a look when I get home. Puff, 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 exactly. Okay, probably. It's not going anywhere. Do it when you feel like it. Oh, my tax? No, I've got to do it because it's last year's tax, not this year's one. So no, I have to. They extended the shit, what's the word? You know how you get fined if you haven't submitted your return by a date? It's normally in October, but anyway, they've extended it till the end of the month. The last financial year's tax return. I mean, I wouldn't get penalised anyway because I'm owed money. I don't owe money. But yeah, I have to do it. And I'm kind of glad though that I'm doing it because the other one will be done shortly as well. And yeah, it'd be nice to get a couple of returns. I sometimes do it. I don't do it deliberately, but it's just sometimes how it ends up happening, and it's so much better for me. Can't read anything now. My glasses are fogged up. The red hair. Hey, are you flirting with Mel Happy? It does look awesome, the red. Oh shit, chat's moving. Due date. No, there's another word for it. Can't remember. There's an actual word and it's like a tax department, special tax department word. But anyway, no, the reason I hadn't done it, you know how, well, back in the olden days, you used to get what was called a group certificate from your employer, and it was a physical piece of paper. And then they changed the terminology group certificate to, I don't know, income tax statement or something. And that was still a piece of paper. And then after a while, they started being emailed electronically. But then last year, my employer sent out an email, and all of our, let's just call it group certificate, they'd all been submitted to our MyGov accounts, which is all online. But the MyGov website was really, oh God, that hill's even worse than the dunes, and I can't read. You're fixing to start flirting with me. Thank you, Wobbly Boost. Guess the word with Tori. Oh, see, Happy hasn't paid taxes either. Whew. You've still got a group certificate from 85. Cool. You never put it in? But anyway, so it's all on the MyGov website, but this is where my delay has been, I thought, warranted, until my accountant rang me yesterday and was like, I could have accessed it for you. Why don't you just call me? But anyway, my MyGov login, when I first registered for it, you know how they send you like a temporary password and it's going to change in 24 hours? So I got sent that, and I punched it in and I hit log in, and it refused access, and then I refreshed the page and tried it again, and it still kept refusing access. And so then I was like, okay, I need them to resend me another password. But you know, on a normal website like Gmail or whatever, you fuck up your password, you can have an email sent to you with a link to reset. There was no forgot your password option on this website. So I rang up, I can't remember who, and they said you actually have to go into Centrelink and they'll sort it out for you. So I went into Centrelink. This was, I don't know, last year, probably in July. Waited in a queue for an hour, finally got to this guy. He couldn't fix it either. He lost his shit. He gave me a number to call. I came home, I'd ring the number, I'd be in a queue for an hour, they'd never pick up. There was no email address. It was a fucking pain in the ass. And then every now and then I'd be like, let's have a look now and see if there's a forgot your password option. Nope. Let's try ringing Centrelink again. Nope. And I just gave up in the end. But then my accountant rang and he's like, we actually can access all of that shit and more. So yeah, I probably should have just rung him. I didn't know they could do that. I didn't know that they could access your MyGov records and get your shit. Did you? He can get all that shit, I can't. And it's my MyGov. I mean, I don't care. But that's my excuse. Teeth aren't great. To be fair, before I start worrying you, I'm 50 and broke. Teeth aren't great, no carotene. Well, I'm an older woman, so, you know, you may not be interested, Wobbly, especially after hearing me puffing and panting up the hill. They're the rude people. The house I'm just walking past now, where they try and run you over and you get out of the way to let them go up the hill. They'd try and run you over, but I got out of the way of them the other day. And they don't acknowledge nothing. One of them nearly reversed into me. I stayed clear, let them do what they needed to do. Not so much as a thank you. I don't like non-acknowledgers. Wobbly Boost, if you're one of those people who someone else lets you into traffic and you don't acknowledge them, we're not going to get on well. I'm big on manners. Bit close, lady. Alright, here we are. back on the mount. I can't read. My glasses are so foggy. Rude people do suck. I will follow you till I get that thank you. Yeah, I'm a bit like that too. I have been known to toot them and wave at them like, thank you. Anyway, because I can't read chat very well, and I'm back up the hill. Thanks for joining me, Groovers. I hope that you all have a great night or day or whatever. Thanks for letting me offload about shit that's going down. And yeah, my parting note is, hey Australians, if you want to get full fired up about George Floyd, that's awesome. Start getting fired up about the shit that's happening here too. And on that cheery note, I love you guys.